Hey, welcome everyone. I have a special guest with me today, Jeff Burton, the Auroraman. So I'm going to add him here. Hey, Jeff.
Hey man, how's it going?
All right. The first time we talked.
You bet.
Yeah. Better than the phone call, right?
Yeah, oh for sure. Definitely.
Yeah. So what's I know this is chit chat, but we're live, but what's the weather like over there?
We actually just had a bit of a wicked rain dump on us and some thunder and lightning, and now it's getting bright and sunny again. So I don't know, we're supposed to get rain off and on today.
Oh, well, we're supposed to get that too. So I think you're sending that down to us, right?
Yeah, you betcha. Well, usually what we have, you get in a few days. So
Yeah, yeah. So, Jeff, tell everybody who you are, like what you do.
okay, well, I am in my day job. I am a full-time teacher, and I'm a father of 5 wonderful kids. I've been married for 18 years, and I started 4 years ago as the creator and writer of The Adventures of Auroraman, which was Saskatchewan's very own superhero.
It's been 4 years already. Wow.
Yeah, you betcha. 4 years, just a couple of weeks ago, was officially the 4-year mark.
It just only seemed like last year or the year before.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. So, you're basically the writer.
Yep.
Yeah, and so what's your process of writing for the book?
Well, I sit down usually with one of my handy dandy notebooks like this one that I have here. This one is actually almost full. You can kind of see there where the pen marker is there. That's the tail end of it. And I have a second notebook that's just for ideas. And I jot down ideas here and there. And it just kind of, as one rolls into an idea, or sometimes several ideas, start kind of gelling together, I start scripting it out. I write usually in a script format that you would find for like plays or anything like that. So I set the scene and all the descriptors of everything like that. And then I break out the dialogue and sound effects and everything like that. And I just go page by page, panel by panel through the pages.
Right. And then, like, in what kind of a format do you usually write in? Do you give them a plot, like the artist, the plot, or do you give a full script?
I give them the full script. And that
Okay.
way they kind of have an idea what I'm looking for as far as space for the dialogue, the word balloons, and captions and stuff like that. So they can kind of look at it and say, okay, in this panel, this is what he wants for action. This is also what he's going to plan for text and stuff. And they can kind of map out how they're going to draw that panel appropriately.
Okay. And do you have several artists with you, or do you have a regular artist that works on the book?
I have a whole bevy. I call it my stable of artists. I work with a bunch of different artists from all across Canada. Quite a few of them are here in Saskatchewan, which is awesome. And it's just a matter of, I don't know. I've met so many awesome artists, and I like their styles and stuff, that it's just awesome to be able to work with them. I understand the niceties of having like a set team that you would work with. At the same time, though, being able to work with a bunch of different people is a lot of fun.
I see here John Paul Jones says, "Cool, I know both of you."
Sure does.
Yeah. And how did you come up with Auroraman?
Well, Auroraman was a collaborative idea. An online friend of mine from Georgia, he and I were batting around different ideas based on DC Comics' Starman character, and we're both huge fans of that character. So we kind of developed this idea. He came to me one day and was like, "Well, what do you think of this guy and stuff?" And I thought it was pretty cool. We had some neat ideas with it. And then I took it to a friend of mine in Manitoba, Andrew Lawrence, who was at the time doing his Canadian team-up book, Canadian Core. And I said, hey, what do you think of this? And we kind of fine-tuned the character into being what Auroraman is now. And I was like, okay, great. You have a team book. Maybe you'd want to use him in your team. And he's like, nah, I think you should probably just write him. And I was a little bit taken back because, we created this character, but I hadn't really thought about, I'm going to go make a comic book now and write this character. It wasn't until he was like, no, man, he said, who knows him better than you do? You should be writing this. And 4 years later, here I am.
So it took a while before you got it going, right? You said you.
Yeah, it was about a year before we actually got it, completely off the ground and the first issue out.
And how many pages was in that first issue?
The first issue had 6 pages, a 6-page story, and then a couple single-page. I call them. They're kind of like the Sunday version of comic strips, where it's a single-page comic in nice full color and everything.
Nice. Now I got your latest one, the one in 3D.
Oh yeah,
that was something like 64 pages, wasn't it?
Yeah, 64 pages and 8 different stories in it, including the 3D story that was in there.
That was I read it through. I really liked it. I did have a little bit of problem with the 3D because my eyes are starting to weaken, so I had to wear glasses in between trying to.
Yeah, the 3D idea, while being really cool, I've discovered doesn't always work for everybody. It all depends on what your vision sense is like, which is why it's nice that we use it as an accenting piece, not as a full on. So you can still read it without the glasses and not lose anything. It just adds a little extra pop to it.
Some like you almost reach out like you go to see Pandora.
Exactly. I didn't really give any thought to it because I'm old enough that I grew up where there was 3D comics, or you'd buy the TV guide and you get the 3D glasses to watch King Kong on the TV in 3D. And so I knew what it was like. But when I brought it to my students in my classroom, just the test print of it to show them, well, these kids had never seen print 3D before, so their minds were just blown. They're like, you could see them, they're like trying to pick up see if they could pick up the item or whatever off of the page and stuff, because they had no exposure to that before.
Right, cool. So this is before the pandemic happened, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Long before that issue is actually had some technical issues in getting released, but it was actually released officially 3 years ago. So we've had some setbacks as far as getting it all shipped out and stuff, which is why you had just got yours now.
Yeah.
But
you had some problems with money or some through Kickstarter or some.
Yeah, there was a small security cyber breach to my bank account that the Kickstarter funds went into, and I ended up having to work to replace all of it because the bank said that, well, it wasn't our fault that all the money went missing, so tough luck.
Yeah, and Kickstarter didn't help.
No. It was out of their hands. They had transferred the money to my account, and after that, then they're done.
That's not good. But at least you got the money and you get the book printed, so.
Well, exactly. It's been a long road on it, but it's all come together now, and everything's playing out nicely.
Right. Nice. And you've got some more coming out. I guess with the being off school. Well, you're still teaching a bit, aren't you? Or are you doing it?
Yeah, we did. For that whole time, like we were out of school in the middle of March, and we went back and did online teaching after that until the middle of June, and then we had meetings and wrap up stuff on the teacher side until the end of the month, getting report cards and cleaning up our classrooms and stuff like that, because basically we had walked out of them in the middle of March thinking, oh well, we'll be back before the end of the year and stuff, but that didn't happen, so we had to go back into the building and get it all ready to be summer cleaned now in preparation for the fall.
Right. Okay. So you think you would be going back in the fall?
Well, right now that's what the government has told us, that that's their plan, is that school will be back on and in the building come the fall, but it'll look very different, I'm sure, and who knows how many times it'll change before we get there.
Right, right. So back to the writing bit. So you've got a lot of stories written now
Oh yeah.
from.
Yeah, I do. I've got a good stock. I could probably release, um, given my current kind of release plan where I'm doing 1 or 2 issues a year, I have enough material. I could probably be good for the next 3 or 4 years of brand new material. Never mind the fact that I keep writing on top of that. It's it's like a leaky faucet. It doesn't ever really stop.
No, I know. Even when you want to break, you still sometimes get that. Oh, where's my book? I got to write down.
Yeah,
You know.
that lightning bolt kind of hits you, and it's just like, oh, here we go. Either it's an idea, or like the other day, all of a sudden, it was just like I had this story idea came to me, and it wasn't just a simple idea of, oh, jot this down. It was like, nope, here we go. I've got like the first 2 pages are already like forming in my head, so I'm just gonna jump in and start writing. And 24 pages later, I had the story. It was done. It was just like, okay, I guess that's a new issue right there.
Nice. So you're gonna plan to do them more monthly or by.
I think I'm going to stick right now with the 2 releases per year kind of thing, a spring and a fall type time frame. It seems to work out nicely as far as my production time goes, and convention season. When we have conventions here in Saskatchewan, there's usually a spring and a fall one for major conventions here, so it's kind of nice to have releases set around that.
Okay. And is there any other plans for Auroraman to expand, like into merchandise, cartoons or TV shows or novels?
Well, we always have a little bit of stuff that's bandied about and talked about, and ideas forming. We do the podcast, the Audio Adventures of Auroraman, where it's kind of like an old school radio drama. So voice cast and sound effects and background music and all that kind of stuff. We have 3 episodes of that are done already and available on all major podcast platforms. I have a few more episodes that I'm working on right now. Most of the voices and narration have been recorded for those. I'm working on a couple other projects in different avenues. Make use of some YouTube and stuff like that for a few different ideas. And as far as merchandising goes, I have a TeePublic store. So there's lots of options for clothing, and they do different stickers and stuff like that. They're all up on there. And I'm working on a few other things. I've always got something on the go. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I was thinking that would be cool to see a cartoon series.
oh, well, yeah. I would love to do some animated work for sure. That's kind of like I'm kind of rolling in stages here. I started with the comic book, and then I've got every 2 weeks I have a comic strip that comes out, like a newspaper style comic strip that comes out in a local publication that is from around here, and they do online now too. And then I moved to the audio comics, and then I'm moving towards the new project that kind of takes the audio comics and the comic strips and meshes them together a little bit. So the next kind of step is an animated cartoon kind of idea. I mean, who knows how long it'll be before I can get there, but that's kind of, as I'm reaching my goals, that one starts to become closer and closer now.
Yeah, as you get more popular with it, probably
Yeah.
people would probably want to see that.
Oh yeah, I've had people asking about that already, so it's there's definitely interest there for it.
And you got that Stargirl that's on CW. Have you been watching that?
I haven't yet, just because we don't have cable here, but I'm dying to, because I loved the series when the comic was out. I was a big fan of that, and I'm enjoying a lot of the other superhero shows that are on TV. It's just kind of a different take on them. It's not quite so comic centric, even though I know all the characters and all the little nods and Easter eggs that they stick in there and stuff like that. We're watching. I'm just like, oh, I know that, and I know that, and it's like I love how they name like street names after creators and stuff like that in a lot of these shows. And I'm just like, well, I know who that is and stuff. So it's a lot of fun, but it's definitely opened up people's eyes to a lot of this stuff, and I think it's trickles over into the interest in comic books and stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta have get a chance if you ever get a chance to watch it. It's not too bad.
Well, we're very excited here. My daughters have been actually as soon as they saw the first trailer for it, they ran to my comic shelves and they pulled the Stargirl comics off of there, and they've been reading it, and they've been they read Stargirl. A couple of them have read the JSA comics that she was in. Now they're reading Starman just to kind of get like some history and all this kind of stuff, and they're waiting. They can't wait until we can watch it.
They go to you and say, Dad, why didn't you tell us about this story, these characters?
They're like, oh, this is so cool. Why didn't I read this before? I was like, well, you didn't really show that much interest in that just yet. So I was waiting. It wasn't going anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Good. And we're speaking to you in your studio that you have there.
Yeah, this is my part of my basement. We moved actually, thankfully, shortly before the whole quarantine time happened. We moved into a new house, and I have a nice big office space here in the basement, which is great. And I've kind of got a corner that is all mine, so I've got all my stuff is here, and I've got my 3 big bookcases of comic books and stuff, and I've got my Starman rod is up hanging just above me, and the tail end of the Auroraman staff is up there too.
Okay. Why is your staff way up there above the Starman thing? You should have yours down lower. You need that when you go out to fight, right?
Oh, all I got to do is stand up, and I can grab it on my way out the door.
Right.
It's like perfect space for it right there. Just give it a little bit there, yeah. So it's just like sitting up there right above me.
Okay, I thought it was maybe higher than and they were kind of lined up together, like that, and then you had to really reach up high to get the.
Oh no! Once I stand up, it is like just pull it off the hook and away we go.
Okay, so it's just a lower ceiling. Okay, I can see that now.
Yeah, just a slightly drop part there, where the venting runs through there. So they dropped it down a little bit, and I was like, what am I going to do with that space? And I looked at it the one day, and I'm like, oh, I know what I'm going to do with that space.
Nice. So that's good. You got a little spot down there to do your writing and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, no, it's fantastic, and it just is. The setup has really just kind of evolved even more than what I originally thought it was going to be, and it's working quite well. It's a nice place to work.
Nice. Now, when you go through the book for colors and stuff, do you approve of everything before you send it off to printing, right?
Yeah, you betcha.
So you don't do the lettering, you have somebody else do it and stuff.
Actually, I've been doing most of the lettering for the past 3 years now. I've been doing pretty much all the lettering on Auroraman, and actually just the other day I was approached by some people to do some lettering on a project that they're doing. So I'm branching out and not only working on my own work now.
Nice. And then you get a little credit down in the bottom of somebody else's book.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was really cool. I spent my morning this morning. I lettered another 3 pages in that project. So
yeah, you're gonna have to get the credit Auroraman instead of Jeff. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Lettered by the Auroraman. Done.
Yeah. So we'd go for more for your book. It'll be more advertisement.
Yeah, exactly. That's a subtle little plug in there. No big deal.
Yeah. Well, that's nice that you're getting some more extra work.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, I started off lettering just because it was kind of a neat thing. I liked how it was done, and it was something that I could do to help with the production of my own books. And now, to see that somebody else is like, hey, let's have him come and letter our book too. So that's kind of a fun. I mean, I'm a little nervous about it because it's not my own book, but I'm having a lot of fun with it, and that's what they keep telling me. As long as I'm having fun with it, then they're good.
Good. Now, Jeff, how did you get into comic books? Like, what was your first comic book? Do you remember when you?
I couldn't say that I could remember. I mean, again, growing up, comic books were everywhere, right? They were at the gas station, they were in the pharmacy, the grocery store. You couldn't go anywhere without finding them somewhere. And I loved the idea of superheroes. There was the old Spider-Man cartoon on TV and the Adam West Batman show on TV and stuff. So I had lots of exposure to it, and it just was a natural fit, something fun to do, a good break from the regular routine of reality and stuff like that. You know, people that had fantastic powers and could do all these kind of things, and it just kind of stuck. Even growing up, as I got older, get into my teens and stuff like that, and friends that were quit collecting, and I ended up buying when I was in high school. I ended up buying some of their collections from them and stuff, and it was never something that really was far away from me. Even when I, moved out on my own and had kind of slowed down how much I was collecting, it still never really left who I was. So
Nice.
this has been a natural part of me, and now I blend it. Like my classroom at school, the walls are just covered in comic book artwork and stuff like that. Lots of the prints and posters that I get when I go to shows and stuff end up in there, because I mean, there's only so much room in my house for that kind of stuff. I can't quite take up all the wall space with it.
Your wife probably wouldn't like that too much.
No, we've got a happy compromise on that. So.
Oh, okay, good. Now, how does the school accept you for taking in comic books and stuff like that and sharing that with the kids?
They've been really good about it. A lot of the teachers there didn't really know a whole lot about comic books before I got there and stuff, and then I started obviously filling my room with them. And then when I was teaching there for a year before I started, or a couple years before I started Auroraman, so they really saw this whole thing unfold in front of them. And I was using comic books in the classroom, be it for kids that wanted something different to read and stuff, but also teaching out of them. There's some fantastic graphic novels and stuff that you can use for teaching, whether it's using Shakespeare graphic novels for teaching in the English language arts classes, or using graphic novels obviously just to teach about art. But there's some good ones because I'm a history teacher that touch on topics and stuff that I cover in history classes. So I have kids that aren't big on a lot of reading and textbook reading and stuff like that, but I give them a graphic novel about the topic, and they'd sit down and happily read that, and then they'd actually come back to me with information and questions and stuff like that. And they were picking up the information that we were learning.
Oh, nice. Now, would you, in a class, would you bring in like TV, movies, comic books and stuff like that too?
Oh yeah. If it fit into where I was going with what I was teaching, definitely. I've even brought in like the Lost Heroes documentary, and I've shown that when talking about storytelling and Canadian culture. And then the Heroes Manufactured documentary that had come out a few years ago. We used that a little bit too to talk about the whole culture of comic books and everything, and how that's really grown and everything. So it's been a lot of fun. And yeah, I did a unit in an ELA class that wasn't my class. I was covering for another teacher, and it was all talking about heroes and all that kind of stuff. So it just made sense to expose kids to a bunch of Canadian comic books and Canadian heroes through that, and using the medium of comic books and graphic novels for it. And so they got to learn all about Captain Canuck, and they learned all about the history. So Nelvana and our legend heroes that we had in the 40s. And I have the reprint books that have been released of all of those, so they got to see all of that stuff. And then into more modern heroes, you get into like Mark Shane Bloom's Northgard series, and then again keep going and then talking about how Canadian creators were doing stuff and making it big in their own right, either as their own books or working in the big industry with the big two, or in this case you look at 3 with Todd McFarlane and Image and stuff. So it's just like it was really fun to share that kind of stuff with these kids, because I mean they don't have that exposure anymore. Comic books aren't everywhere anymore. So some of these kids, until I put a comic book on the desk in front of them, hadn't read a comic book before.
Well, I remember when I was a kid, you could go, like you said, you could go anywhere, like drugstores, gas stations, and find a comic book,
Yeah.
And like I traveled back and forth from Ontario to Newfoundland a lot, and we would stop in the Quebec gas stations and stuff, and there would be French versions of the Hulk and stuff like that. So I would grab them. I wouldn't be able to understand them,
But it was something different and something fun, you know?
and then with the books I picked up, I already had. So I go, I know what it's going on. I just want to look at, but they were all printed in black and white. They didn't have
Right.
color.
Okay. Yeah, but so that, is a slightly different take on it. It's still the same book and stuff, but just the visual aspect of it and the language piece of it, just enough to make it something different, right?
Yeah, yeah. Now, when you were growing up, was there a favorite store that you would go to get comic books?
Oh, okay. Yeah, there was a few. In Humboldt, we didn't have a comic book store itself,
Mm-hmm.
but there was a convenience store that was a few blocks away from my house, and I'd go there. And then my mom worked in and then eventually owned a restaurant that was downtown on Main Street in Humboldt, and there was a pharmacy right across the street. So that was my go-to. I just hop across the street, especially when I figured out that for newsstand comics, they came out on Tuesdays. So every Tuesday, if I waited until just about 1 o'clock, then they'd have all the new ones out already. So then I'd go over there quickly before going back to school after lunch, and I could see what all the new issues were and pick up anything that I thought was interesting before anybody else got it.
Nice, nice. Well, when I was we moved to Newfoundland. I was there for 3 years, and we came back in this town called Preston, which is now called Cambridge.
Okay.
There was a store called Lou's Variety. It had the best selection of magazines that you could ever find. They were like 20. I think they were about 25 cents then, and that was about the time when Captain Canuck came out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I missed Captain Canuck. I didn't see it in the store, and there was a guy at school that had issue 3, and it was all torn up, and I paid, I think, 35 cents to have that book, and I was just hooked on. I never seen paper like Richard had put into that.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah,
They were
sparkled.
some nice looking books for that time. Like, it was just fantastic. I remember I had Captain Canuck was just one of those random ones, right? I was, DC and Marvel were all on the shelves at those times and stuff. And yeah, I remember going into one of the pharmacies in town, and it was like, oh, Captain Canuck, hey, this is pretty cool. It's Canada, right? I don't remember what issue number it is. I remember what the cover looks like. It's like etched into my brain. And yeah, it's just, I was hooked. So anytime now, it's just like, yeah, Captain Canuck was something really, really cool and unique and different in my little world at that time. So
Yeah, and it wasn't too bad, like 35 cents to buy them.
oh yeah, well, that's just it. Like, I came in towards the end of that. Like, I remember for me a big thing was 75 cents was cover price, and I was like, that's doesn't seem like too much or anything. Of course, now you look at that and you're just like, well, I wish I could go back to the days of 75-cent cover comics. But it's weird. I still remember too, like, when they went up, and the first time a comic was like $1.25, and it's just like, ooh, that's a lot. But
Well, I remember DC doing a bunch of books called the DC Explosion. It became the Implosion because they only put out a few titles, but I think they were putting them up to $1. But
yeah,
they give you more pages.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure, more bang for your buck, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. But that plan didn't work out for them, and then they had to. I think it was Firestorm and a whole bunch of other ones that came in on that explosion. Black Lightning and stuff like that, and then they just had to stop doing that. But when they got over $1, even that wasn't too bad. I still pay $1 today if they brought that back.
Well, and DC and Marvel have both gone to those reprints, those like for Marvel, the True Believers that are like
Yep.
99-cent reprints and stuff. Well, I've bought in a pile of those just because, well, it's $1. I'll buy that issue for $1. I know what happens in it, or I have it already, but I mean, it's $1 comic. You can't go wrong with that. And I put them in my classroom because that way, hey, you know what? If it gets a little bit beat up when the kids are reading it, it's not a big deal. It only cost me $1.
Yeah, and you already got the original. They're probably worth a lot more.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's see. We've been here for about 30 minutes. Is there anything else, Jeff, that you got planned or?
We just released. Let me grab a copy here. We just released our second trade paperback collection. So that's the front cover there and the back cover. And this is 100 pages, and it has issues 1 to 5 in it. So between volume 1 and volume 2, so this is volume 2 here, we have 2 of these 100-page collections out now that collect the first 3 years of everything Auroraman. So all the stuff that's quite a bit of it is completely out of print now and not available in single issue at all and everything. So we did up these nice collections, which was great. We released the first one last year, and I ended up touring the province, going to schools and libraries to talk about making comic books and making comic books in Saskatchewan and stuff like that. Because with a nice 100-page book, libraries and school libraries are a little bit more apt to purchase that to put on their shelves because it's got a little more durability than single issues and stuff. So that was a lot of fun. I got to see all kinds of places in Saskatchewan that I haven't been to, even though I've lived here all my life. And I was doing presentations all over the place. It was awesome. So now this year we released the second volume just because I was out of stock of a bunch of these issues, and instead of paying to reprint each one individually, we just decided, well, let's put it all into one book, and it's a little more economical that way as far as print cost goes.
So where do you have those available at the I've got a thing down here. It's is that Comixology that you have them at, that you can get them at?
Comixology, that's the digital website that you can get them at. So those are all the digital comics are there. So everything is available there. And then scrolling across the bottom, you'll see the link to the Facebook page. You can message me through there to be able to order copies of Volume 1 and Volume 2. You can also head over to www.bigcountrycomics.com. It's an online comic retailer that I've partnered with, and they have all kinds of awesome Auroraman stuff there too.
Oh, cool. Now that Big Country, is that the same one that Mike Ruth?
Yeah,
that's how you pronounce his last name. That's where they do the Ninja Turtle covers and stuff that he's... That's
right, yeah. Him, and they've teamed up with him, and they've teamed up with Hugh Rookwood as well, doing variant covers and stuff like that. Big Country is awesome. They're a big time, they're a new company, and they're big into supporting Canadian artists and creators. So when they approached me about partnering up for Auroraman, I jumped on that because that's another way to get it out there. They do conventions all across the country when there's conventions available, obviously. But they actually paid the printing cost for issue number 7 of Auroraman, and that also included the 2 variant covers that we did. We did a variant cover with Hugh Rookwood. It was a very limited edition variant cover that they did. And then we also did a charity variant cover with a 15-year-old artist, Sarah LeBlanc, and she just brought her art to show and get some ideas on it, and we said, hey, this is awesome, and decided that it was good enough that we could offer her a spot as a variant cover. And with that one, all the proceeds of the sales of her variant cover go to donations to a nonprofit organization in Saskatchewan called Creative Kids. And what Creative Kids does is they provide funding for families that may not quite have enough money for their kids to participate in artistic programs like dance or art classes and things like that. So they provide funding to help cover those costs. So that was important to me that we donated to an organization that focuses on the arts like that.
Nice, nice. Now, and your books are available for any libraries and stuff throughout Canada?
Yeah, you betcha. I'm slowly working on getting that spread out further and further now.
We do have a guy here in Cambridge. I just live about 2 blocks from a school called St. Benedict's in Cambridge.
Right.
And the guy who runs the library there loves comic books.
Oh.
Yeah, well, so you might want to contact him, and he,
Yeah, for sure. If you have some contact information that you can get to me for that, that would be fantastic. I'd love it.
Yeah, I can do that for you. Because I had a friend in Hamilton who did a autobiography book, Jason Marcy, and he did a book about his son being born and his wife being pregnant and all that, and put it together in a book, and they had it up there for the while.
Nice, right on.
Yeah. So he was quite happy to order and put in the library.
Excellent. Well, that's what I like to hear, because the libraries here were very receptive. The schools and the libraries here were very receptive to my stuff. So now I want to start kind of spreading it out to other provinces too, get it into the library systems and stuff there too.
Yeah, so as soon as I can get in there, I'll get the information for you.
For sure,
we're still locked down here too. So
definitely. Yeah, we're just at the point now, fairly soon, I think libraries here are going to be allowed to be open. And then I can start emailing them about our second book that we released this summer and pitching that one to all the libraries that bought the first one.
Right. Now, wait, I was going to ask you something here, Jeff. When you go to these schools and to talk about your book and that, do you dress up as Auroraman?
I generally take the staff and I take the jacket with me and stuff, and just because it's it works. Auroraman and I share a certain visual aesthetic and stuff, so it's a lot of fun, and the kids love to see it. So even like the high schoolers and stuff, who might be thinking that they're too cool for this kind of stuff, they still get a kick out of seeing that kind of stuff too. So yeah.
The kids do really like coming in and seeing a comic book creator and stuff, because I went down to Newfoundland to stay at a friend's place in a place called Paradise. And the woman that was staying at the place asked me to go up to this local school. So I went up, and I think I talked to a couple grades. I don't remember what grades they were, but they were young kids,
Yeah.
And you start talking about comic books. I think I might have had a few comic books I might have handed out, and I did some sketches, talking about the characters. And they were asking me really intelligent questions.
Yeah, actually, I've had some really fantastic questions that have come up when I've done presentations. Lots of times questions that I didn't even expect to get asked. And again, just like really thoughtful questions and stuff. I squeezed in a presentation right before lockdown happened. And it was actually my very last one that I did this year was to 375 middle years students. So that grades 6 to 8 range type age group. And 375. And that was right before the province said no gatherings larger than 350 people kind of thing. It was like literally the day before. And that was my biggest presentation that I've done to a crowd that size. But the questions that these kids had were just great. And the number of them that came up after I was done my presentation to ask other questions and to talk about ideas and stuff like that, and to take business cards so that they could, email me questions and stuff like that, it was fantastic. I kind of looked at that presentation and said, okay, given the size that we're dealing with, this is going to be a bunch of teenagers that, might be a handful that are interested and the rest aren't going to be interested. But, most of them were attention, they were paying attention the whole time and stuff. I didn't have a bunch of kids that were getting fidgety or restless or anything like that, which was awesome.
Yeah, it was the same with me. It was nice. Now, did they send you any drawings of Auroraman and stuff like that?
I have had a few, and one of the things whenever I do these presentations, it doesn't matter where I'm presenting, when I encounter kids that are interested in writing or drawing, I always make sure that they have my email address so that they can send me stuff. And I have a few kids that are practicing their craft right now, and we're working on things because just kind of like with that variant cover, if they show that they've got some skills and they're really interested in it, I'll gladly give them, either a variant cover spot or a small like one-page script so that they can draw it and we can get them some, early published work out there for them as well.
That's nice. That's very nice. Have you ever thought of doing some maybe with the school to do a project sort of like that?
I have given it some thought, and I just haven't quite worked out where exactly I want it to go. Once I have that set out, then there's some grant programs and stuff that I'll apply to, just so that we can, take it from being just a very simple idea into actually making something that will publish with all the kids' work in it and stuff.
Yeah, because those kids will really enjoy that, to have their work seen in print.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, they definitely. The ones that I'm working with right now, when I pitched them that idea, they're just like, "Oh, really? Like, that's so cool. I would love to." And they've been, they send me like once or twice a week or every couple of weeks. They're sending me, updated work that they're doing and stuff just to show me their progress, and they're asking questions and stuff. So it's really cool to see that side, to be able to make those kind of connections with some of these students.
Nice. And now, any of those drawings that those kids send you, you haven't published those in your book yet, right?
Not yet, no.
No. Okay. Because that would be kind of cool to put together,
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I have a small little collection going that somewhere down the road I have an idea where I have plans to use it in.
Nice. And do you have a bit of time to still talk, or do you want to?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that book you showed me, that how much is that going for?
It's $20.
$20. That's not too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I have a copy of the second one handy. Oh, maybe I don't. Oh, they must have sent that one off. Oh no, I have one. Yeah, so that's what the first volume looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that one, and then that one. And they're $20 a piece, and actually right now until the middle of July, I'm running a special that you can get both of them for $35.
Well, that's not too bad. That's
pretty good. 200 pages of Auroraman comics for $35.
Yeah, I might even look into that. I'll be looking on my bookshelf next to the Johnny Canuck, Nirvana, and Captain Canuck.
That's where I have them on my bookshelf. I'm just like, yeah, they can sit there with all those cool guys and stuff. That's cool.
Well, I'm keeping them away from the Marvel stuff. I just got to dedicate it. I've got a little shelf in my bedroom that has my Nintendos. I have the NES, the Super NES, and the 64. 64 nice. 64 you can't see. It's underneath in a cabinet with the door closed. But the Super and the NES you can see, and one of the I think it's the NES shelf that I have the Canadian books on.
Nice. Well, they're in good company then.
Yeah. So I haven't read the Johnny Canuck yet. I've had that for a few years.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if I've read all of that one either. I know I've started it, but I don't think I've finished it. It cropped up in my Facebook memories today about getting it, and I looked at it and I was like, I don't think I've actually read all of it yet. So
yeah,
that'll be a goal this summer. Is I'm actually going to go back through my Canadian shelf and really make sure I've read everything that's on there.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to do that too, and I haven't read the whole thing of Nirvana either. So.
That one I have read, and I don't know why that one got the treatment of being read for sure, but I don't know. Might have been I was talking about it a lot in school and stuff, so it was the one I had handy, so I probably read it a lot more then.
Right. Well, see, when I heard about Johnny Canuck was through Richard Cumley's number 3 of Captain Canuck.
Okay.
And I went down to the library. We had a library here in Preston, a small library, and they had the Canadian great comic books or something like that.
The Great Canadian Comic Books book?
Yeah.
I have it on my shelf.
You got it.
Yes. I found a copy. It doesn't have the dust jacket.
Yeah.
But I found a copy on eBay a number of years ago. And the thing is I say it was divine intervention because there's a sticker on the inside, and it's from I think I can actually I can't grab it from here.
Can you reach it from here now?
I think so. Just give me half a sec here.
Yep.
All right. So yeah.
Nice.
Now, I call it divine intervention, though, because where it came from, it was originally sent from the Canadian Council of the Arts as part of the Canadian Embassy Library at the Holy See.
Oh, yeah?
So the Holy See, of course, is... for anybody that doesn't know, I mean, that's the Vatican. So that's why getting this book was divine intervention. They were cleaning out, the Vatican was cleaning out the Canadian Embassy Library. And this ended up on eBay, and I lucked out and got it.
Wow. It's been blessed probably by the Pope.
Maybe.
One of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Yeah, I remember getting it at the library, and I think they had a few small stories in there of Johnny Canuck and
yeah, they have some reprints of stuff in there, and I was teaching at a school, and there was a intern that was working at that school, so a student who was doing some practice teaching, and we had gotten talking about comics and all this kind of stuff, and he had mentioned that he remembered this book. And he described what the cover looked like and stuff like that. So I did some investigating and discovered that it was this book. So then I started hunting for this book because I hadn't heard of it before then. And I lucked out within probably about 6 months of hunting. I managed to get my hands on this copy. There was a few other copies that were out there, but were a lot more money than this one was.
Yeah, I've seen stuff like that. You go and look and you go, geez, that's awfully expensive.
Yeah.
I'm in looking for replacing my watch. I have an old Casio watch. See if I can get the light in here. It holds phone numbers.
Oh, okay.
150 phone numbers. It's a calculator, stopwatch, international time, and it's 20 years old. So I've been looking on eBay for a replacement because I actually got that one for free. The model I had before that one was hold 50 phone numbers. This one holds 150. And the girl that was changing my battery ended up bending the pins on it.
Oh, no.
And couldn't get the watch to work again. So I left the store. I left Walmart, went to another place to see if they could put the battery in. She says, no, the pins have been bent. This watch is no good anymore. So I went back to Walmart and complained. And the guy said, give him one that's comparable to that one. And that was the next model up.
Oh, nice.
And it was $80 for that watch. But I got it for free 20 years ago. So it's been dropped a couple times. The strap broke on it at a job I was at, and the supervisor almost stepped on it. Or he did step on it, kind of. And but it's still working, but I'm afraid eventually it's going to stop. I've been getting weird messages coming up on the screen every once in a while. So I've been looking on eBay, and it's like $300 for one of these.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm like going, I still want to get it.
Yeah, exactly. I still kind of really like that.
Yeah. Even like books, you'll see books and you go, yeah, I want that too,
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I had a piece of artwork. I'm telling people I got a John Byrne artwork over here behind me.
Right.
And I've got two of them. I'll swing the thing around.
Yeah.
One is Marvel 2-in-1 story that I bought at the local comic book store, Now and Then Books. Harry Kramer. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yes, I have.
They do awards with Harry's name on it.
Yeah.
Harry passed away probably about 18 years ago,
right,
with a heart attack. He never took care of himself. So I bought it from his store. The other one up there is a Fantastic Four page with the thing on the Beyonders world.
Oh, okay.
From the Secret Wars.
Yep.
The thing decided to stay on the Beyonders world because he could transform back and forth to Ben Grimm and the Thing.
Right.
And he's in a what would I call that? A traveling wagon for gypsies.
Right.
And he's handcuffed. He's got a big brace around his neck. He's in there with Frankenstein and the Wolfman. The Wolfman's normal, and the page is beautifully inked. And I saw it up at a convention I went to in Toronto, and it started at $5. And I'm going like, I really want this. I only had $80 in my pocket, and it got up to $60. And I said, I'm going to say $80. And the whole room went quiet. You could hear a pin drop. And then I went and got that. I was so excited. I'm like going, I'm broke, and we didn't have debit back then because I had cash in my pocket.
Yeah.
So I just spent some money on a Alan Moore page or Stephen Bissett page. Alan Moore story, Steve Bissett's artwork. And I think I spent about $20 or $30. Plus, I bought a Ninja Turtles #1 there, a second printing for $35.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that thing is worth $1,000, and it's signed by Kevin and Peter.
Nice.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'm like going, if it went any higher than $80. I would have had to walk away, but I was like so excited. And then I went and met John Byrne in Atlanta and had him sign it. And
oh, perfect. Even
better. He put it down from Cousin John. Nice. That was so sweet,
Yeah, that's really cool.
But yeah. So we got 2 viewers here. It looked like they're from Facebook. I don't know who they are. They're, but I think Rob and John has left us. I owe you a Green Lantern ring there, Jeff.
Oh,
you're gonna have to send me send me a personal message with your address. I'll send you down a Green Lantern ring.
For sure, I can do that. Nice, right. That's awesome.
And I'll send you one of these too. I had 2 of these printed up.
That one. That's awesome.
And
nice. Very cool.
So I'll send you that. I'll have to figure out a packet so the post office doesn't use it as a football and break it.
Yeah, that's always the hazard there.
I know my grandmother sent my parents a deep fryer back in the 70s, and when we got it and we opened it up, you couldn't use it. It was all bent in and everything. They just.
I've been very lucky. I've had a lot of stuff that I've shipped or has been shipped to me, and I have had very few things that have been actually damaged in the process. Knock on wood. That keeps up that way. But yeah, that's always a hazard. It's always like, okay, I've got to ship this. How do I ship this the best to make sure that it gets there in one piece? Yeah, because you don't want the books. When somebody buys a book off you. You don't want it dinged and banged and bent and stuff like that. And you're writing on top of it on the envelope do not bend, do not fold. Yeah, exactly.
And I've actually
Whatever.
gotten stuff that were folded, and I'm like,
Oh.
what? You didn't read that?
Yeah. How did you miss that? It's almost bigger than the address.
Yeah. So yeah, I know. What was it? There's a guy on who's got a book out. Do you know? You heard of Ethan Van Sciver?
Yes.
He's doing these things called a honeycomb box, and he's putting them. They don't want the fans don't want the books in the honeycomb boxes mailed out. They want them put into another box,
Right.
so they don't get damaged up. So he's trying to figure out how to protect these boxes.
Yeah, it's a challenging thing. I know right now because that's what I'm doing right now is a bunch of shipping out of stuff, and it's just like, okay, how can I best protect this to make sure that it's going to get there and not be absolutely mangled by the time it gets there, and not cost me an arm and a leg to ship it at the same time.
Yeah, it's expensive mail stuff lately, isn't it?
It's really gone up.
Yeah, because I've I've ordered some stuff from Indiegogo and stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, the book's $25. Wait a minute, it's $50, and then they're added into the shipping and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, there's been a few times where it's like, oh, a creator that I follow in the States, an indie creator, and it's like, oh, your new issue is out. Awesome, I can't wait to get it. It's only, $5, and then it's like, oh, in total it's $15 with shipping, and then that's American, so now I have to add exchange to that. It's like, ooh, suddenly that's a very expensive comic book.
I tell you, I ordered one from. I interviewed Scott Welding.
Harlan Buck. That's a fantastic book. I love it.
So I ordered the book, $5. I go, okay, that's good. And then I do cash. I do the checkout, and it's like $17 for shipping. But I haven't really calculated the exchange rate.
Yep.
And I'm like going, how much is that going to be?
Yeah, suddenly it's a rather pricey endeavor.
Yeah, because it never used to be expensive to mail stuff.
No, not like that.
No, I used to get the Marvel comic books sent through me through mail, and they would. I don't have any here on the floor. I don't think they used to. What they used to do is get these paper sleeves for them. They were like really like paper bags kind of thing, but they were a little rougher. And then they would cut it into the size of a comic book and slip it in. It wouldn't be closed in. You could, if the postman was delivering it, he wanted to read it, he could pull it right out and read it, put it back in.
Oh man, can you imagine how people would react if we shipped stuff like that now?
Yeah, I know they'd be just freaking right out.
Yeah, you'd be crucified for something like that.
Well, the best ones I saw was Richard Cumley. When I got a subscription to him, when he had his book out in the 80s, he put them in envelopes. And he actually had the image of Captain Canuck printed on the envelopes.
Nice. Classy stuff. Like, Richard's stuff has always been classy like that.
Yeah, I like this stuff. I was like going, wow, this is cool marketing because it comes in through the mail and you've got Captain Canuck on the envelope. Because it started off as a color, a white envelope that he did, and he had Captain Canuck in color. And then when they did CKR, or is it? I'm trying to think. The one he did in the 80s with Ken Ryan. He, I think it was CKR, and they did it in a yellow envelope. And it was just a black and white drawing of Captain Canuck. And but that kept the books in good condition.
Oh, for sure. And like you said, it added a little extra something to it, right? You get these in the mail, and it's just like, hey, look at that.
Yeah, and if you wanted extras in there, like if they had some special they want to send you, like a sticker or something like that, that's what you got.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, we're on to the hour mark here. Jeff, I think I should let you go.
All right.
Yeah, and I had a great chat with you.
Yeah, this was really good. I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too. Anyway, I'm going to end the broadcast. I'm going to tell people this is also streaming on YouTube and
Okay.
Facebook.
Nice.
So, people, if you haven't subscribe, hit the notification or smash that notification button, and we'll see everybody again tomorrow when I have a special guest on, Kent Burrows. He'll be on tomorrow. Right. So, talk to everybody later.
All right, you guys have a good one.